Hi, my name is Eric Bryan, and I am a junior at Arizona State University. I am a computer systems engineering major, and this is my final project for CSE 335 Mobile Applications Development. And basically what my idea was to create an application that the user will enter either their location or a location address that they want to visit, and the app will then return to the user a map of the area as well as the current weather conditions that are present in that area. And the app also gives the option for the user to save locations into the memory of the application so that they can be navigated through at a later time. I'll go ahead and go through my application in just a moment again. I'll go ahead and show it to you. But first, I'm going to go ahead and show my two diagrams. Alright, so first up I have here my UML diagram. And it's fairly simple. There's only two main components to this application. It is the creation of the map UI view, as well as the retrieval of the weather for the displaying on the view controller of this application. But I'll start with the map portion. On the left side here you see that my creation of my map, it starts with 4 strings that the user is going to input at the very beginning of the application. These are the street address, the city name, the state name, and the zip code. And these are going to be combined into one cohesive string and then used with my getLocation function to return a set of coordinates for latitude and longitude. And then using these coordinates, the shape and quality of the graph that will be displayed, or of the map that will be displayed, is created with the other following functions I have here, such as CLL location coordinate 2D make, MK coordinate span make, MK coordinate region make, and set region. And again, these are essentially just creating my graph piece by piece, how zoomed in I want it to go, what region I want it to specifically be hovering over, things like that. And the most important thing is that after I make my map on my application, is I want to then pass the location that I have found into the next portion of the application. And on the right side here you can see that the weather portion of this application is receiving data from the map portion. The information that I'm bringing from this map portion is, again, the latitude and longitude coordinates, and using JSON data from geonames.org, I am able to access the data of any weather service or any weather satellite that is within a certain area of the coordinates that are presented. And the functions that make this possible, for me, I created a function called getData that takes all of my functions and runs them all at once. And these are NSURL, data task with URL, JSON object with data, and the resume functions. And essentially, after all of these have been processed, I'll be able to access all of the data from any satellite or any weather station within, I think, within 100 miles of the latitude and longitude that is provided. And of course, both these map and weather components will then relay their data back to the weather application on the detail view controller, and they will display both a map of the region that you're looking for as well as the major weather components such as temperature, clouds, cloudiness, rain, wind speed, and it'll also, I believe, give the name of the weather station that is currently being piggybacked on. So I'll go ahead and start with my MVC architecture diagram next, and then we'll get to take a look at the actual application. Alright, and this is my MVC architecture diagram. It's a little bit easier to understand compared to the UML diagram, but it essentially says the same thing. Um, Here you can see in red, orange, and blue, I have the three main components of the MVC architecture diagram. The model represents the lowest level that is responsible for the maintaining of data within the application. We have the view. As the name sounds, it's responsible for displaying all of the data for the user to see and interact with. And then we have the controller, and this is just the code behind the application that controls all of the interactions between the model and the view. So we start with our controller, and we request first from the model the location that the user is interested in, and this is through the interaction of entering in an address string. The model will then kick back to the controller the latitude and longitude of the location, and also at the same time it will be accessing the geonames.org website and bringing back the JSON data or the weather data from that particular location. Once the controller has the information, it's basically able to send the information to the view portion. In this case, it'd be the detail view of my application, and this is what allows the application to both display the map of the area as well as print out the weather conditions for that particular area. Like I said, not too difficult to understand, but behind the scenes there's a lot going on, and this kind of helps simplify it a little bit.
Alright, so here we have my application that I created. I went ahead and called it Where's the Weather? And this is a little bit of how it works. Upon opening the application, the user is brought to this first screen here. They go ahead and enter in the location that they are interested in obtaining a map and weather for in these four text boxes right here. Then step one is to click this button here, which is Get Location. This will actually run the code here on the side, and it will return a latitude and longitude coordinate pair that will be then used in finding the weather as well. After you click the Get Location button, you can then click the Get Weather button, and it'll bring you over to this screen here. As you can see, I have my map view as well as miscellaneous labels. After the data has been retrieved from the GeoNames website using latitude and longitude, the map will display, these labels will be replaced with the current weather conditions, and also I have it set to scan the weather conditions so that if it says that there are currently clouds, only the sun will be visible, and vice versa. If it says that it is cloudy, these clouds on either side will be the only thing visible and not the sun. So I'll go ahead and give you guys a little bit of an example here. I have it loaded up already, and so I think where I'm going to want to find the weather, I work down in Phoenix, so I'm going to go ahead and look up the hospital that I work right next to, and that is located at 350. Let's see here if I can get it going. Okay, so it's going to be St. Joseph's Hospital, 350 West Thomas, and the city is in Phoenix. State is Arizona, and the zip code I believe is 85013. Okay, so then I'm gonna go here and click my Get Location button, and something I'm kind of really enjoying is after it has retrieved those coordinates successfully, you'll get this check mark here notifying you that you are ready for the next phase. Then you can go ahead and hit click View Weather. Okay, and that brings us to our second view controller, the detail view controller. And as you can see here, I've got St. Joseph's Hospital centered quite nicely there. And then I have my weather conditions here. I have the date and time of the last recorded weather conditions for this weather station. The cloud coverage, no clouds here, and therefore I only have sun out. It's actually nighttime at the moment, but it's a clear night, so no clouds, just the sun here. If there were clouds, or if it said partly cloudy, you would see these clouds here on the side appearing and not the sun. And so the conditions are fair. It's pretty nice out right now. I have the temperature in Celsius, and I have the current wind speed. And I've seen some crazy wind speeds, actually. I've seen it go up to like 20 miles per hour, which I think is pretty crazy. But tonight's a pretty nice night. But yeah, and so at the moment, this is the only location that I have saved in the application because of this example. You can go ahead and go to the back to the original screen and enter in a new location. And then if you view the weather for that location, um, you will then be able to cycle through all of your stored locations. But yeah, so this has been my app. I hope you enjoyed it. It's nothing too special, but I enjoy the functionality, and I enjoy being able to manipulate data this way. I didn't realize that creating an application like this would be, uh, so not, I wouldn't say so easy, but it was definitely not as difficult as I imagined. So yeah, thank you.
All right. Up next is the capabilities and limitations for this particular project. And honestly, I have almost nothing to say except good things. In terms of capabilities, we had many tools at our disposal that we had learned, such as the map view, the core data, the web view, and accessing JSON data online. We only had to use two of these, but I could see some really creative ways that we could take all of these or take a couple of these core components and make some really interesting things. I think we had a lot of capabilities after going through this class. The only limitation that I can think of is the possibility of maybe having a game for our final project. I really enjoyed learning to make that basic monkey grabs apples game. I know it was pretty simple, nothing final project worthy, but just seeing what kind of things could be done, I thought maybe a student could take that a little bit above and beyond and maybe make something worthy of a final project out of. But again, that's just something I have an opinion on. Um, Next, I'll be talking about the lessons that I learned in this class, and there's been a lot. Um, First, I now know that developing applications is a lot of fun. I really and honestly enjoyed making a lot of these projects and applications and labs. I usually was a little bit nervous to start out because the tasks can seem kind of daunting at first, but after you dive in and really get involved and integrated in the software, it's not as hard as it sounds, and you get a real rush of satisfaction when you when you hit run and the application actually works. It's a great feeling. And honestly, my second lesson here, Swift is very similar to C++, and that's what I think what made this class successful to me is I didn't have to learn a brand new language from start. I could already use the skills that I had to continue and grow as a programmer. And the similarity between Swift and C++ was a big part of that. Um, Another lesson I learned was that thanks to this class, you can help yourself by creating some basic apps, maybe put them on the App Store, and then if you have interviews or if you have any kind of job prospects, I fully intend and would recommend anyone hearing this make a basic app and upload it to the App Store. Um, I cannot wait for my next interview where they ask me any previous or past projects that I've been involved in, and I can just tell them to go in the App Store and look right now and download it to their phone. I think that makes a really strong impression, and for the simplicity that this class contains, it's a really big, uh, big aspect of a future career that I would recommend everyone takes advantage of. Um, Second to last lesson I have, more of a personal one. Don't allow your Mac to auto update Xcode. I think we were working with Xcode 7 throughout this course, and my Mac automatically updates all its applications all at once. I think like at 2 a.m. or something if it's still on. And I woke up one morning to Xcode 8, and when I tried opening my previous projects or creating a new project, it reformatted some things, and I spent way more time than I was hoping trying to fix it and uninstall it and accessing Apple's website to reinstall Xcode 7. Just don't let your Mac auto update Xcode specifically. Let everything else go, but tell it not to update Xcode. And then honestly, just be creative. We didn't learn, you know, everything that has to do with mobile applications, but what we did learn allows us to do a lot of really cool things, whether it's with the maps or with the online data reading. It's just been a really enjoyable class, and I can't wait to see what kind of cool things come out of it. Alright, and this will probably be the shortest part of my video. It's the improvements section for both this class and for this final project in general. I really don't have much to say, other than I have already said. Maybe learning more a little bit about game development. I know that honestly there's probably a whole other class, or could be a whole other class devoted to just this one subject. So I know it's it's not something that needs to happen, but it was just something we touched on it, and I would really have liked to go a little bit more in depth. But again, maybe that's just because I got to take the next class. Again, also maybe making a basic game be allowed as making a final project. I would have loved to do that. I would have jumped on that idea. But again, just depending on how much we've learned about games, that may or may not be possible. And honestly, just keep this class awesome. This class was probably the one of the most fun classes I've had. I wouldn't say that coming to class every day was the most enjoyable thing in the world. It was easy to follow, and it was not too difficult. But actually, when I started working on these programs and learning how to actually code these things, um, it was just very enjoyable. I got a really big sense of satisfaction that I wasn't used to seeing in other projects. A lot of times I get frustrated and whatnot, but these projects, these small assignments and labs, they really set up the class and set up the student individually to learn and to grow to become I think a decent applications programmer. So I just say keep doing what it is that you're doing because I think it's working. I had a lot of fun. That marks the end of my project for mobile applications. I just wanted to take a moment to say goodbye as well as thank you to Professor Balasuria for all that you did to make this class what it is. Looking at where I was compared to where I am now, I never would have imagined I could do the things that I now know how to do. I hope that there's a second version of this class or a second level to this class because I would definitely love to continue my education in mobile applications. Thank you again, and have a great end of your year.